The Sea Frog underwater housing for the Olympus TG-5. Both of them are fantastic piece of equipment, but I had a problem. On my second dive, it fogged up. Let's take a close look inside the housing and at the TG-5. I'll show you what the problem is and why it fogged up. Let's take a look. The camera is placed in the housing till it meets the gasket at the front of the housing, and it's approximately a 1/4 inch to 7 millimeters from the lens of the camera housing. We'll remove the gasket from the camera. We'll place the gasket on the camera so you can see where it forms the confined space pressing against the camera housing. Now we'll remove the adapter ring and we'll show you the cavities that can retain water or moisture. There's 3 of them, and the locking ring can also retain water. We have a large flange that also the large flange of the corrective dome threads into, creating a large mass of aluminum, a material that transfers temperature at a very rapid rate, transferring cold temperature to the lens of the camera housing. Now that we've taken a close look at these items, let's go ahead and summarize why the Sea Frog underwater case lens fogged up. Well, on the dive, the lens was in contact with cold seawater that transferred cold temperature to the lens. We also had 2 large flanges that were mated by threads made out of aluminum that transfers temperature very rapidly, helping to transfer cold temperature to the lens. Then we had the Olympus TG-5 that was used. It's a waterproof camera. It was used on the reef at night. It got dunked a few times into seawater, covered with saltwater spray. As the manual says, it was rinsed out thoroughly with fresh water, but the adapter ring was not removed. The camera housing was also left open in an air-conditioned environment for about 12-13 hours for it to dry out. So the next morning I put the camera in the housing, went out, made a dive, it fogged up. Well, this time it wasn't night and I had plenty of time between dives to go ahead, take the camera out and do an inspection of the housing and the camera. Well, on that inspection of the camera and the housing, I realized the camera was mating flush against the rubber gasket here, creating a confined space. So if there's any condensation coming from it, it'd be from the camera. I looked at the unlocking mechanism because I thought it might be retaining some water. So I took out the adapter ring, found that there's 3 large cavities here. Upon close inspection of these cavities, we found small droplets of water the size of a needlepoint, very small. Then you take into consideration the gasket forming a confined space here. We have heat from the camera. We have the water droplets turning into water vapor from the heat, confined into space with a short distance of travel. They make contact with the cold glass lens. We have condensation. We have a fogged up camera lens, not good for video or photos. I have one last suggestion to you. If you use your Olympus TG-5 on the way out to the reef before you make a dive and you take a topside video, or you get it in the rain or saltwater spray on it, be sure and remove your adapter ring. Use a Q-tip to dry out these cavities, or use a blast of air, a hair dryer. If you have a blast of an air conditioner handy, let it cold dry air blast on it. Or you can set it in the sun for 10, 15, 20 minutes like I did, but not longer or you may damage the camera. Let's go back to the Philippines. Okay, if you found that interesting and informative, please subscribe.